there, and welcome to the latest episode of Off the Shelf, the library vlog. I'm Mr. Humphreys.
And I'm Miss Oliver.
So, this is the last one of the academic year. Summer is ahead of us. So, my first choice for a recommendation for year 7 to 9 is Girls with Goals by Celia Castro Malaspina. So, women's football, big deal. It's on the rise. Yeah, it's getting more and more popular. But it's easy, I think, for us to forget how much of a struggle it has been for us to get to where we are, for women's football to have the higher profile that it's enjoying now. And I think it's fair to say it's still not there yet. It's still not getting as much coverage or as much hype as men's football is. So it's still a way to go, but progress has been made. So as this very accessible, colourful and lively introduction to women's football says on its back cover, women playing football, what an oddity. What a hilarious sight. And that was actually said, that was actually written down in a newspaper. That was the reaction when women first started to play football in 1881, which is, flabbergasting, I think, for us to think of today. But that was the reality back then. So another reason I picked this was Surbiton High School, as I'm sure all of you are aware, has been enjoying a lot of success on the football pitch lately, to the extent that we've been having football matches covered on YouTube and other online places. So what better time to celebrate the pioneering heroes who got us there? So absolutely. So there you go, that's the first one. Next up, I've got The Zombie Project by Alice Nuttall. Right, so when we think of zombies, what's the first thing we tend to think of? We tend to think of, exactly. Brain-dead creatures, apocalyptic wasteland, feeding on us. They're a source of terror, I think it's fair to say. Very dystopian. So what this novel does, it flips the narrative and actually positions zombies as the heroes. In this imagined dystopia, this is an ever-present threat about, lots of worry about bees disappearing. And in this world, the bees have disappeared. So humanity is on the brink of catastrophe. And the solution, as it turns out, is zombies. Because death flies, so-called death flies, are needed to grow food. And those death flies need bodies. Zombies. I.e. zombies. So it's a very different take on, the Waking Dead and other classic zombie narratives. Yeah. And it also, as a bonus, it does feature a strong can-do female protagonist. Marion, her name is. So it's a very, very freshly different take on the zombie narrative. Plus a bit of female empowerment as a bonus as well. So so that's a good, and it's
very
a debut.
Original.
Very original, exactly. Completely counter to what most zombie stories are about. So recommend a read for that reason. And last but not least, a couple of national treasures writing about the ultimate national literary treasure, Michael Rosen and Chris Riddell's Pocket Shakespeare. Okay, so as the subtitle implies, it's a beginner's guide to the best bits of the bard. Now, I think Shakespeare can be intimidating for quite a few people. Certainly, we've talked about Shakespeare at Lit Talk many times. And if you go down to the Shakespeare section, you'll see the complete works of Shakespeare. And it's a big, huge doorstop of a collection.
Tomes.
Yeah, exactly. A big worthy tome.
Yeah.
And so that can be a little bit intimidating. So this makes it just a little bit more accessible. So what it does, the trick it plays, it sort of maps on the different themes you can find in Shakespeare onto our everyday experiences. So to give you an example, there's a chapter called Not Fair, because we all think things aren't fair. That's not fair sometimes. I think we've all expressed that sentiment in our lives. And what it does, it draws upon specific speeches from, for example, The Tempest, Othello, among others, to then help us make sense of and process how life can be unfair and help us come to terms with how life can be unfair and deal with it in the best possible way. So Shakespeare has lots of universal life lessons for us all, as Michael Rosen understands very well, and coupled with the reliably excellent illustrations from Chris Riddell, always can count on him to do some great illustrations. It's a great way to essentially fast track your understanding of why the bard is still relevant today and all that he has to offer. So there you go. So those are my 3 recommendations for year 7 to 9.
Very good recommendations.
Thank you, Miss Oliver.
Okay, mine 3 recommendations are for older pupils. So I'm going to start off with the science fiction thriller, The Mirror World, by Femi Fadugba. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. So this is a sequel to a book called The Upper World, but it's not essential for you to have read it. So it doesn't matter if you haven't. but it's set in 2039. The previous film is also going to be made into a movie, just as a heads up.
Oh, there we go.
So it's about an 18-year-old girl called Ria. So again, a strong protagonist, as you mentioned in one of your bits. Yes, yes. She's going to Oxford University to study physics. But she's finding it hard to fit in, finding it hard to find her people. And then she's invited to join a very secret but exclusive society that guarantees students wealth and success. Who doesn't want that?
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
But her dilemma, obviously, is whether to join to find the answers to what's really going on, or whether she will open a Pandora's box with Earth's future at stake, because this is a science fiction thriller after all. So she must question if she's really prepared to sell out to secure her future. So as I said, she's got a really strong character. The plot's really gripping, and there's lots of tension in this. It's perfect for fans of futuristic technology. There's lots of really good technology in it. And it has also been described as time-twisting and a mind-bending thrill ride. So if that sounds like your thing, this is the book for you.
Sounds like a lot of people's thing,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Okay, my second book is non-fiction. I haven't got it with me because I finished reading it at the weekend and I thought it was so good I've passed it on to my partner. But it's Normally Weird and Weirdly Normal, My Adventures in Neurodiversity by Robin Ince. And some of you may recognise the author's name because he is a long-standing comedian and broadcaster. Like many, he had a late diagnosis of ADHD and then finally felt that things were starting to make sense for him. So in his book, he uses a lot of his own experiences to explore anxiety, ADHD, self-acceptance, and also autism. And he does this through very candid personal insights, hilarious, intimate anecdotes, and lots of interviews as well. So what I was quite taken away with was his breadth of research that he'd clearly done for this book. Over time. It was really commendable, and he makes links with trauma and the impact that also has on us. He discusses the disparity between the image that we present to the world, the exterior image, and what actually goes on in our heads, which can be two completely different things. So overall, it's a really compassionate and very witty book that dives into human behaviour and questions exactly what being normal really is. And what is the point of being normal anyway? Which, is a very good question when you think about it. So whether you're neurodivergent or not, it's really worth a read. And the message is clear: no matter how weird you think you are, it's okay to be different because we all are.
It's normal to be abnormal.
Yes, definitely. And my second non-fiction book is The Dose Effect by T.J. Power. Quite a heavy book, this one. Yeah. So if you're addicted to your phone, you're unable to focus a lot of the time, struggling with your relationships or finding it impossible to sleep, this could be the next book you need to read. He's a noted neuroscientist, and he looks at the science of happiness, which always sounds good, by explaining how to harness 4 key elements of chemicals in the brain. So dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, hence the DOSE acronym in the title, because they affect our thinking and our behaviour. So he explores how common feelings like stress, anxiety, depression are all linked to imbalances in the brain chemistry, and they're often triggered by the rapidly changing modern world that we all live in, and I'm sure we can all recognise that. For each brain chemical, he offers strategies and challenges for us to do to increase the level of each of those chemicals. But it does need to be said that some of the strategies are more challenging than others. So, there's a whole thing on phone fasting and having cold showers. So, but he does give a whole chapter of methodology on each of those. Okay. So he does help you because he does realise that these are not going to be easy feats. Yeah,
difficult habits to break, right?
So although the tone does at times, I feel a little bit dictatorial, the book does aim to equip the reader with knowledge and very practical skills to thrive in the fast-paced world that we all live in. And he does this by offering really practical strategies to build discipline and resilience into your everyday routines to help you achieve these goals. So definitely worth giving a go, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And of course, the other thing we should add, some of you will remember he came in to talk at PSHE, I can't remember when, but some point earlier in the year. And this is not just what he talked to you about, but more. So yeah, if you want to follow up on some of the things that he talks about, then this is the book for you. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Miss Oliver. So next up, we have our special guest. Now we have this episode. We've got someone who has told me he always likes reading. He tells him how many books he's got at home, and recently he's been coming to Litsock to share his love of reading with us. So that person is Mr. Stone. So Mr. Stone is now going to tell us about books he likes, dislikes, and his habits and foibles. So without further ado, over to you, Mr. Stone.
So, I actually haven't read anything new recently in the last couple of months. I've been doing a lot of rereads. So the one I've chosen to talk about is The Gunslinger by Stephen King. It's the first book of his Dark Tower series, and it follows a man called Roland. He's the last gunslinger in what is essentially post-apocalyptic Earth, and he's chasing down the man in black in the desert and trying to find the fabled Dark Tower. And I really like it because it's a really nice mixture between fantasy, horror, and western, which is something I don't think we see too often all mixed together, although it's becoming a little bit more popular now. But it's not something that I read very often, all three of those genres sort of wrapped into one. And I really quite like as well that it makes a lot of references to, well, what was then modern day, modern day sort of Western society. So there's references to sort of Hey Jude from the Beatles and a few other things. So it quite nicely blends sort of our current world and the post-apocalyptic world that we find the gunslinger in. And I know I've never actually finished the series. I think I've only read up to book 4 or 5. So it's one that I am rereading so that I can actually get through the series properly this time. So my favourite book from my childhood, oddly, is one that I don't remember a huge amount about. It's just very nostalgic to me, and it's called Lord Lost, which is the first book of the Demonata series by Darren Shan, and it follows a young boy called Grubbs who comes home to find that his family have been murdered, and it turns out they've been murdered by demons. And it's his almost like a coming of age story where he finds out that his family are demon fighters, but not only do they fight demons, they play chess against them at the same time. And so you have two people playing chess in a time bubble where things move very fast, and then two people on the outside fighting with swords, and it's basically first who wins the sword fight or the first person to win the chess match. Which as a teenage boy, I just loved it. There was just something about it that absolutely sort of almost rang true home for me. I loved chess. I was a teenage boy, so I loved fighting. That was really cool. And also interwoven things like werewolves and curses and that sort of thing. And although I don't remember the story fully, I do remember sort of looking back on it quite fondly. And I have reread it once or twice since then, but it's just quite a nice sort of nostalgic book for me. This is going to be a really unpopular opinion because it is without a doubt one of the most successful books since sort of 2000 onwards, and it's opened up a whole world of new genre of books, but it's Twilight. Weirdly, I read it as one of my books in English when I was in secondary school, and I just distinctly remember really disliking it. I don't know if it was the fact that I was forced to read it, but I just remember it being kind of slow, and I didn't think it was very well written, and so for me it's very overrated. However, there is no denying that it is hugely successful, and even if you don't like it like I do, I still got drawn into the to the sort of the social argument of werewolves and vampires and which one was better and where should Bella go, and I hadn't even read the books or watched the movies, and I was still involved in that. So it's undeniably a very good book, but just not for me. I've slightly cheated on this one because I forgot that there was a movie made, I think in 2007 or 2008. But I chose the Spiderwick Chronicles by Holly Black and Tony Dilettizio. I think I've got that pronunciation right. And the reason I chose that one is because I'm not a huge fan of TV and film adaptations. I don't think they're always done very well. But what I do think works really well is children's books adapting into TV and film, because they're much less specific. There is sort of a little bit more open to interpretation with them, and the adaptations that you can make to get it onto film, I think comes much easier in children's books. And so for things like the series of unfortunate events and Miss Peregrine's Home to Peculiar Children, those kind of things worked really well, and just given the storyline of the Spiderwick Chronicles and that sort of intro to fantasy for teenagers and children, I think would work really well for a TV show rather than a film this time. First one, and it's definitely not cheating, but it's the Lord of the Rings, all 3 books in one, and that's not cheating because that was supposed to be how it was, or that's how it was supposed to be released. One long 1,200 page book. For various reasons it wasn't, and so I'm counting that as one book. Best fantasy series of all time, that's definitely got to come with me. And very similar to Mr. Payne, because I know he said this one as well, and we think the same, I would take the SAS Ultimate Survival Guide, because I'm on a desert island, and I think that would be useful in sort of catching animals and making traps and all sorts of stuff. So I'd take that one with me. And then my third one, which I deliberated on for a really long time, but I've finally chosen Carrie by Stephen King. I was thinking of a few different Stephen King books, but Carrie was the first one I read from Stephen King, and it's just such a fantastic book, and I love the horror genre, so Carrie feels fitting to take with me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stone. So, as always, we always start off this episodes of Off the Shelf with us, recommending books that have recently arrived. But what about pupils? What about pupil recommendations? So this is what the next segment is going to be about, but I've done it with a little bit of a twist. We have got a sort of book recommendation duck chain, for want of a better expression, and what's going to happen is the pupils are going to pass the duck along, give you a quick recommendation and why you want to read it, and then pass it along. So, let's see what books they recommend you for your summer reading.
I recommend the book Looking for JJ because I like how at the start you never know which character is JJ.
I recommend Noughts and Crosses by Malorie Blackman because it's a mix of dystopia, romance and different societies.
I recommend Codename Banana because I love how determined Eric is to find Gertrude.
I recommend Holding Up the Universe because you can hear the book from 2 people's perspectives.
I recommend Little Bang because it explores gender inequalities in the UK.
I recommend the book The Rest of the Story because it's a good coming of age story.
A series that I'd recommend is The Chronicles of Darkness because it shows how in the Stone Age people would live.
I recommend the Mysterious Benedict Society because it is a great mix of mystery and adventure.
I recommend Powerless because it's a blend of dystopia and romance.
I recommend Caraval because the plot got me hooked in and the characters were really fun.
I recommend the book A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because it has a lot of mystery in and makes you want to read on.
Thank you for those interesting choices. Okay, so last thing to finish off with is the trivia for this time. So according to the Guinness Book of World Records, the fastest selling non-fiction book is the autobiography Spare by Prince Harry, which sold 1,430,000 copies on its first day of release on the 10th of January 2023. And it actually smashed the previous record for Barack Obama's Promised Land in 2020. Controversial, but there you go.
In my opinion, I think I would have preferred to read Barack Obama's, but that's just
Same here.
That's just my opinion. Was it 1,430,000? I wonder.
It's a lot of copies, isn't it?
It is. That's got to be global, right?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
so.
it's got to be surely. But
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We do have that book in the library as well, just in case you did want to read. Disregard
Both
my opinion.
books.
Both books. We have
Yes,
both books. Yes.
yes.
Consider both books. Okay, thank you, Miss Oliver. All right, so that wraps up our last episode of this current academic year. So thank you for watching this episode and previous episodes. Have a great summer. Keep reading. I will see you in next academic year. Okay, until then, take care and bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.